Okay, this is a 2003 Dodge Durango, attempting to replace the coolant. There's a lot of conflicting ways of how to do this, but overall it's a pretty easy job once you figure out where everything is and take a look for yourself. Okay, the first thing we're going to want to do, from what I heard, is take the reservoir cap off first, which is supposedly supposed to just drain the reservoir first before you actually take the main cap off of the top radiator hose. Right now I have it draining. The petcock valve, which does not come out, you just have to give it a half a turn. That'll release the valve to open up the little nipple off the bottom, which you could attach a hose to. I did not have one, so I needed to just run a bucket underneath. It's been draining for a little bit now, but it's coming out very slow. I'm hoping that that's just because it's the reservoir that's draining only. If not, then I'll just open up the main radiator cap and have it fully drain into the buckets, which I have. Okay, that actually did drain the reservoir only, and it looks like there's a little bit of scum buildup in the bottom of the reservoir, so we'll just put a little distilled water in there, try to flush it out. But again, if you open up just the reservoir cap by itself and then open the valve at the bottom of the radiator, which is actually on the if you're looking at the truck like this, it'll be on the bottom right hand side of the radiator. It's not actually on the bottom of the radiator itself, and I'll show that in a closer view. And it's that little valve sticking out towards the right, and I'll get an underneath view of that as well. Again, you're going to turn that only a half. It'll only turn halfway around, and as you're turning it counterclockwise, give it a slight pull, as that'll open up the valve. It does not come out, it does not need to come out completely. Okay, this is the front of the Durango. If you have a 2002 or 2003, this is a 2003, you have a small opening in the actual bumper itself, and that you can actually put your hand in there and get to that valve, and that's the valve right there. If you don't have that, you can reach it from underneath. Now, as you can see, the system's flushing a lot faster now that I opened up the main radiator cap, which is mounted on that top radiator hose. I'm also going to be changing the thermostat on this vehicle, as well as what was the main reason for me even getting involved with this was back here, just beyond that air filter box, you have a small pump, and that's your electrical auxiliary water pump, which brings the coolant to the rear heat, if you have rear heat in your vehicle, which are separate controls in the second and third row seats. That started leaking. It took me forever to figure out what that was and where I can get it. I actually got it on eBay, which is the Steve White Motors, who is a Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep dealer out of North Carolina. Great prices. It's a Bosch original equipment pump, and that's exactly what I got for about $100. Retails about $150. Brand new. Alright, before any of this work can actually be completed, or even started for that matter, is you have a plastic guard underneath where the oil filter access door is. And right now you can see I took that out. It's very easy to take out. I saw some conflicting things on a couple of the posts. I say they're really hard to get out. All they are little rubber grommets that can be pulled out. They could be pried off. What I used was a pliers with a 90-degree angle, wedged it in underneath it, and just pulled straight down, and they popped out. None of them broke, so I'll be able to reuse them. And I'll show you the actual piece I took off. Okay, this is the plastic shield underneath the bumper. Again, it's got the access door for the oil filter on it. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's actually one of the grommets right in there that didn't pull out all the way. And then you have 2 on that side. And that's the way you're going to be looking at it on the truck from underneath. Alright, here's the electrical auxiliary water pump for the rear heat on the Dodge Durango 4.7 liter V8. I just put a rag underneath there. I'm draining the radiator fluid right now to get most of the coolant out of the system, but there might be still some in the pump itself. So I just put a rag underneath it, so when I take these heater hoses off of it, you have one going into the pump with those clamps and one coming out. So we have to disconnect those, and then it slides off of a bracket without unloosening anything. It's just a rubber grommet that's attached to the pump itself, and that has a small slit on the bottom of it that slides right onto an open-end metal bracket attached to the fender here on the right fender. And then there's a electrical connection on the back of it. I don't know exactly what that looks like right now until I could take the hoses out and slide that off. I'll disconnect that, put the new pump on, and reattach the heater hoses, and that should be all set for that. This is the electrical auxiliary water pump for the rear heat, the Dodge Durango, with the heater hoses off of it and off of the bracket. This is the rubber grommet that is attached to the water pump. It comes with the new pump if you have to order one, and it has a small slit which is right there. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little open metal bracket that rubber slides right onto. And here's the electrical connection that is on the back of that pump. Alright, mine started leaking, therefore I had to order a new one. And I have the new pump inside, which I'm going to disconnect this one. I wasn't sure exactly what the electrical connection looked like, but now that I have it off the hoses and was able to pull it towards this direction, now I see that it's an easy squeeze the tabs in the back right here, and that'll open it up so you can slide that right off. Here's the thermostat housing on the Dodge Durango. It's a plastic piece that has to come off. There's 2 bolts, and that's connected to the lower radiator hose, which I'm going to take off first, and then I'll have a clearer view of the thermostat housing. We'll take that off, replace the thermostat, and put that back on. This is the thermostat housing removal. I can get a picture of that. There it is with the hose off, and the housing is going to be taken off by 2 8mm bolts, one on the top, one on the bottom. Here is the housing from below, and once we get that off, we'll be able to get to the thermostat, reattach it, and then put the hose on. Alright, once everything is done, you can refill the cooling system back up with the antifreeze. For these Durangos and other Chrysler products, you must either use their brand, the Mopar, which has the hybrid organic additive, which is called HOAT, H-O-A-T. The only aftermarket manufacturer is Valvoline, I believe, and they make this Xerox G05, which is approved by Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and the others. So do not use the regular Pre-Stone green. Again, here's the it looks like it's rusty. That's what I had originally thought it was, but then I Later found out that it's the color red, not the typical green. And that's approved by the Chrysler for some of the alloy metals they use in their engines today. So once everything's all set up, you can see, again to recap, we installed the new electric auxiliary water pump for the rear heat. If you have rear heat for the second and third rows with their separate controls. You have, I put a new water hose on, the lower radiator hose, which attaches to the, it's hard to see, but the thermostat housing, and a new thermostat in there as well. Okay, and that wraps up the job of a draining and filling up your cooling system, as well as changing the thermostat, lower radiator hose, and if ever need be, your electric auxiliary water pump.